Have you ever heard of a billionaire who bought a massive company for just £1? It sounds like a dream deal, right? But what if I told you this deal led to the catastrophic collapse of a 90-year-old retail giant, leaving 11,000 people jobless and a pension deficit of over £500 million? This is the shocking true story of British Home Stores, or BHS, and the man who brought it to its knees. For decades, BHS was a beloved fixture on almost every high street in the UK, from clothing and homeware to its iconic cafes. It was a place where generations of families shopped. At its peak, BHS was a retail powerhouse with over 160 stores, a symbol of British middle-class life. But by the early 2000s, the world of retail was changing fast. Online shopping was booming, and fast fashion brands like Zara and H&M were capturing the hearts and wallets of younger shoppers. BHS, with its dated stores and slow-to-adapt attitude, started to look like a relic from a bygone era. It was losing money, and its owner, the retail tycoon Sir Philip Green, was looking for a way out. Enter Dominic Chappell, a former bankrupt racing driver with a history of failed businesses. Chappell was hardly the typical candidate to take over a national retail chain. Yet in 2015, Sir Philip Green sold him the entire BHS empire for the symbolic sum of £1. Why? Well, Green wanted to offload the struggling company and its massive pension obligations. Chappell, in turn, saw a chance to turn things around and make a fortune. He promised to invest millions and revive the brand. The deal was done, and Chappell, through his company Retail Acquisitions, became the new owner of BHS immediately. Red flags started popping up. Eyebrows were raised across the financial world. How could someone with Chappell's track record be trusted with such a huge responsibility? The new management team he assembled was small and lacked significant retail experience. Instead of injecting the promised fresh capital, money started flowing out of the company. It was later revealed that Chappell and his associates extracted millions of pounds from BHS in management fees, salaries, and loans. One of the most glaring examples was a £1.5 million loan, supposedly for a mortgage, that was transferred from BHS to Chappell's father's company. The promised turnaround plan never materialized. Meanwhile, the real crisis was brewing in the background. The BHS pension scheme. This fund, which was supposed to support over 20,000 current and former employees in their retirement, had a massive black hole. It was underfunded by an astonishing £571 million. For years under Sir Philip Green's ownership, the company had been paying huge dividends to his family while the pension deficit grew larger and larger. When Green sold BHS to Chappell, he effectively washed his hands of this enormous problem, passing it on to a new owner who had absolutely no means or intention of fixing it. Just 13 months after the £1 sale, the inevitable happened. BHS collapsed into administration. It was the biggest failure on the British high street in years. All 163 stores were shuttered, and 11,000 people lost their jobs overnight. But the devastation didn't stop there. The 20,000 members of the pension scheme were left in limbo, facing the terrifying prospect of losing a huge portion of their retirement savings. The dream of a secure old age, earned through decades of loyal service, had turned into a nightmare. The public outcry was immense. How could this have been allowed to happen? Parliament launched a full-scale inquiry, grilling everyone involved. Sir Philip Green was summoned to face MPs, where he was labelled the unacceptable face of capitalism. The details that emerged were damning. It became clear that Green had prioritised enriching his own family, taking over £400 million in dividends from the company, while neglecting the pension fund and failing to invest in the business's future. His decision to sell to a demonstrably unsuitable buyer like Chappell was seen as a final, irresponsible act to dodge his obligations. The pressure mounted. Facing the threat of being stripped of his knighthood, Sir Philip Green eventually agreed to pay £363 million of his own money to help rescue the BHS pension scheme. While this didn't cover the entire deficit, it was a significant step that helped secure better outcomes for the pensioners. It was a victory for public pressure and parliamentary scrutiny, but it came too late for the 11,000 employees who had already lost their livelihoods. And what about Dominic Chappell? His grand adventure ended in court. He was found guilty of tax evasion related to the income he took from BHS and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. The courts found he had deliberately cheated the public purse, spending the money on a lavish lifestyle that included a yacht, a Bentley, and expensive holidays, all while BHS was crumbling. The story of BHS is a tragic lesson in corporate greed and irresponsibility. It's a tale of how a beloved institution can be destroyed from the inside by the very people entrusted with its care. The £1 deal wasn't a bargain. It was a ticking time bomb. It highlights the devastating human costs when profit is prioritized over people, and when regulatory loopholes allow the wealthy and powerful to walk away from their responsibilities. The empty storefronts left behind were more than just closed shops. They were monuments to a colossal failure of leadership that scarred the British high street and ruined thousands of lives. What do you think? Could a disaster like this have been prevented? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story interesting, Please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. See you next time.